What is up, Retro Maniacs? My name is Mike. His name's Joe. His name's EP. And we're here to talk about cards. You know, sometimes we can be a little bit critical of Fanatics and some of the shenanigans that go on in the hobby. Some of us more than others. Some of us, this is the dream episode of this video. But we're going to give you 5 ways in which we feel Fanatics has made the hobby better. We're actually going to be as positive as we can be today, right, Joe? I mean, we know Mr. Positivity down there on the bottom won't have any trouble with this. Might hurt us a little bit, Joe, but you know, not everything is all bad in the hobby. So we're going to talk about the good things. Number 1 is the MVP buyback. This was a great idea. We've talked about it actually on the podcast and on the channel quite a bit too. This is one of the best ideas to come into cards for a long time. It gives people the chance to chase a regular base card of somebody that might have value. Somebody's having a good year. That card could be worth $20. If you have a refractor, it could be what, $40. I forget what the price levels are. Don't correct me. But it's a great idea. It's gotten a lot of interest. They're going to expand it to other sports, which I think is a fantastic idea too. This is one of, if not maybe even the best ideas that they've come up with.
So before I talk specifically about that, I do want to make mention, I want to have it noted for the record that I was actually the one that came up with this topic. Okay. So for the people in the cheap seats who say, oh, he must be a shill for Panini and those 5s and 6 total Panini cards he might own. He's definitely a shill for Panini because he shits on Fanatics all the time. This was my idea for the show, not his. All right. I don't know who I'm pointing to right now, but not his. And we should let people know that anyone who's freaking out that we're going to be positive about Fanatics this week, watch next week. We're going to be a little less positive about Fanatics with our video. So
that would be Joe's new show. Yeah,
that will be. And the last thing I want to say, I'm super glad that Mike is letting me go first because there won't be enough positive adjectives left if EP went first and then I'd be struggling. So I appreciate that, Mike.
This video could be 2 hours long.
Just because, with his adjectives.
Yeah. And that awesome with me cutting out probably about 10 hours worth of content.
To the buyback program, since we're keeping this strictly positive, I'm only going to talk about the current and past buyback, not the future buyback that I have some issues with. My favorite thing about the buyback program, it brought in collectors to their local card shops, their LCSs, to then trade in those cards for a $20 gift certificate to the card shop, I believe, and the card shops are reimbursed by Fanatics. That was my favorite part of the whole thing. But to Mike's point, yeah, it was a great idea. Buybacks are not new. Companies have done them for years. This is, though, the first time that I can remember that the buybacks were directly to the consumers, making it a chase, right? So it was less of a buyback and more of a chase. And then, sitting there with a handful of cards of your favorite player saying, oh, come on, win the MVP, win the MVP. And then those base cards turned into $20 cards real quick, and you could go to your LCS and trade them in. I love the program. I think we waxed poetic about it the entire time. We talked about it previously. So, yeah, really, really great idea from Fanatics.
Yeah, this is by far my favorite one they've done. Like, there's no question about it. The card shops, they're building the community. They talk about wanting to 10x the hobby or whatever. Like, that's how you do it. Like, you encourage the collectors to go into their card shops. You encourage collectors to form their own community and that sort of stuff. I think this would have been a huge part of it. Again, we'll talk about changes later on what they're doing, but this buyback, this idea was just fantastic on so many levels, in my opinion. Like Mike said, you're taking a base card and turning it into a chase card. I mean, that is something that they that just never gets done in the hobby. They'll do that with like a SP Super SSP variation or whatever, like the card 661 in the set that doesn't, can't get. But like, this is actually taking base cards, which we know they print millions of these cards now, right? The actual base cards. And so they're turning like all the Aaron Judge cards or, whoever is having a great year into that. And like Joe said, like they're also creating this connection with the collectors in the sport. deepening the connection to the players in the sport, start paying attention. So maybe they're a White Sox fan, but they're rooting for somebody like Jose Ramirez to win the MVP because they have a bunch of his they have a couple maybe low numbered parallels. Like, oh man, I hope he wins the MVP. So like I think that creating that connection, creating that buzz around the sport and around the hobby is how you grow the hobby 10x in a good way. I love this. This is my favorite thing.
All right, next on the list. This one's a little bit controversial, but I'll give my reasoning behind it. Fanatics Live. You can feel how you feel about breaking. We have very strong opinions about breaking and its impact on the hobby. But for the type of people who want to break, this is a really good thing that they've added to the hobby, because let's be real. Do you want to be breaking on whatnot? It's the Wild West out there. We've seen all kinds of videos of all kinds of breakers doing sketchy, scammy things. Fanatics Live has been way better, and their breakers have been way better. It has eliminated, for the people that use Fanatics Live, a lot of that worry that somebody might steal a card. They're not going to just pull a big card and all of a sudden end the stream and refund everybody. So having a legitimate business running this is way better than the Wild West version of what breaking was before this. So I give them a plus for this, making it safer for the people who want to break, that want to make sure they get their cards. You should get the cards that you get in a break. That shouldn't even be a question, but we know how difficult that's been.
Yeah, and I even made the joke when they started the breaking company. I said, if you're not breaking with them, I don't know what you're doing, because not only is it safer, I mean, they might get better product. I don't know. There's an audit that proves that is not true. But yes, I even agree with this one. I'm not a breaker. I've never participated in a legitimate break. And I would even add in, and we didn't really discuss this, I would even add in their repack thing. It makes just safety net for the folks who want to do repacks and they want to do breaking. They've kind of made it legitimate. They've legitimized these things. And I guarantee you, if someone tries to dip a card, as they say, on Fanatics Live, they will not be on Fanatics Live. It will not be a question anymore. And I wouldn't be surprised if Fanatics then compensates you. I can't guarantee that, but they are a large company. You always feel better when a larger company is in charge of something like this, where the bad PR that they would receive if weird shit happened would probably be detrimental, where a whatnot breaker could just end the stream and then create another whatnot account. And I'm guessing the Fanatics breakers probably aren't saying super weird shit about underage people. So that's pretty good too.
That's
so
a big bonus. Right
that's
there.
a plus in my book. Yeah. But yeah, whatnot's a Thunderdome, right? And I think people who break probably would feel a lot safer on Fanatics Live.
Yeah, we're talking really like service level here. Like we're not trying to read between the lines, but the bottom line is, if you are somebody like kind of in charge of this hobby, which Fanatics is getting to that point once they get the licenses, they're the ones that they should be responsible for stuff like this, and they have an opportunity to create a community, which they're doing. They have an opportunity to have an all-in-one place where you can do all of these things all together, and that is something that, as again, none of us are really heavy into breaking, but if you're into that, like, you want to have a place as a community, a place that's super busy with breakers that have reasonable prices in theory, because they have to match all the other breakers. You want everything to be kind of all together in one, and in that regard, this is a really good idea. Again, we're not trying to read between the lines, but the Fanatics Live, what they've done is something that everybody in the hobby, if implemented properly, should be behind.
All right, next, number 3 on the list. They do a lot of mainstream marketing, and they've gotten a lot of players, other athletes, celebrities involved in the hobby. We talk about, way back in episode 1 of the podcast, a lot on this channel, in case you didn't know this, but it was a interview that Michael Rubin did with Bill Simmons on Bill Simmons' podcast. This was before Fanatics took everything over. And when we were talking about that, one of the things we liked was him wanting to bring athletes in. We thought it was kind of crazy that, we all collect these athletes, but there's never really been an effort to show the athletes collecting the athletes too. Like, we're collecting our heroes and the players we love, but they can also be part of this hobby. And, very little effort has ever been made to really bring the people we collect into the hobby, make them part of the hobby. And I feel like Fanatics, this is Michael Rubin. We give him a little bit of flack for not really being a collector, but he is a guy who knows people, and he knows a lot of athletes and knows how to use them for marketing, and they help market themselves. But it's really cool bringing them in. Maybe some of the staged box breaks, they pull stuff aside, but yes, but it's really cool that more athletes are now involved in our hobby. I think that's a good thing.
Yes, 100%. I agree. And we did talk about this in episode 1. I think I even made the point. It's like when you hear one of the players on your fantasy football team also plays fantasy football, and that's something that is very common nowadays. But when we started playing back in the 90s, it was shocking if anyone talked about an athlete talking about playing fantasy football. So seeing someone do something you do, a nerdy thing that you do, like fantasy football or collect cards, is cool. Now, I'm going to be 98% positive on this one. I love that he's bringing a lot of athletes in. I think it would be good if he cultivated or was able to find athletes that are definitely true collectors. There are some, but I think, he's kind of trading them in for the flashier names. Like Tom Brady isn't opening up packs of cards at his house, but Mike Trout
he owns a card shop now.
Yeah, behind the counter every day collating. But
Definitely.
Like Mike Trout, we know does, right? AJ Dillon, we know does. He's not as flashy of a name, obviously, but I want to see a little bit of advice. I want to see a little bit more of those folks and show off their collections and things like that. I think that would be a lot of fun and prove that it's not just a marketing shill, but it is great marketing for sure.
Yeah, I thought mainstream marketing was something that we talked about back in episode 1. Like there's been none of this stuff since like the 80s, right? Maybe some in the 90s, but there's not really been any push to really say, to get out there to the people and say, hey, listen, this is cool stuff. Then they had that commercial, was that like 2024, before the 2024 season, with all the MVPs like sitting at the bar or whatever and watching the baseball game. And it's like that's like they just have not done any of that sort of stuff. This hobby has not done any of that sort of stuff. And for them to bring that in and to try to generate more interest in the hobby, I was behind it then. I'm behind it now. Keep doing it.
The Brady commercial of the Brady card playing baseball, the alternate universe where Brady. I mean, that was a Fanatics thing, and that was awesome marketing.
All right, number 4. This one was very simple, but keep in mind when Fanatics got the baseball license, they didn't own Topps. There was a period of time in the hobby when Fanatics took the license away that we were thinking, wow, all this time Topps is done. They bought Topps and they kept the Topps brand alive. So it might have been a brilliant business decision on their part, but for us in the hobby, it was great. Nobody wanted the Topps brand to die. And the cool thing is now they're going to be making basketball. They're going to be making football again. Not going to just be baseball. It's going to be all Topps, pretty much. Like there's not going to be anything else. That could be good or bad. But for the Topps brand, I am thankful that they decided to buy the company. And Brian Gray, you were totally wrong about it. I was right. If you're watching, because I know you do, you were wrong. Not to gloat.
Yeah, he was wrong. It's shocking. I know. It's like the reverse me, where he's always wrong. So yeah, this is a big one, and I mentioned on the podcast, people have been collecting Topps since 1952, with their first set, and it's kind of it was like almost disheartening. I can't even imagine what it would have been like for EP if Topps was just no longer around. I mean, it's a local-ish company to us, right? It was founded in Pennsylvania, and being known for baseball that entire time, never lost a baseball license, I don't believe. So they had been creating baseball cards. Like, I know a certain segment of the collector base will be upset when Panini goes away. There's a lot of IP with Panini, but those IPs are way different than they were when they were bought by Panini. You know, they're different sets now. Prism is not what it was with Pacific. So having Panini go away is going to suck for a lot of people. Having Topps go away, though, would have been like earth-shattering for a lot of collectors. And to have them come back in a pseudo, but not really monopoly, is going to be fun for the first couple of years. It really will, to see Topps football and Topps basketball and Topps Chrome football and Finest and all those things. So to keep that brand alive, for me, it was number one. You know, I think if we lost Topps, I think talk about a different hobby. If Fanatics just came out with Fanatics products and not Topps products, it would have been a completely different hobby than what any of us, I think, would want.
Yeah, I take back my buyback being number one for this one. Obviously, I mean, like they pulled the corpse of Topps out of the grave. Like, essentially, Topps was going to go away, and they saved it. And I think I cannot imagine, for as much as, you know, I love Fleer and Fleer Ultra, all these things, I can't imagine this hobby without Topps. Like you think about the 52 Topps mantle, like that is as iconic as cards go. But there are so many cards throughout the history of Topps. And I just would hate to see any of them go away. And so they saved all of those designs, all of that IP, and that is, I mean, I'm a huge Finest fan. I know that's a more newer type product than the 1950 stuff. But I mean, to see that go away would have been terrible. Topps Chrome go away. Like, I realized that there are other companies that have similar products. Even Upper Deck has their, like, the Goodwin Champions, like the Chrome cards for there. But there's something about Topps Chrome. There's something about Finest that if they weren't in this hobby, it'd feel like a shell of the former hobby.
But by the way, you say new-ish,
right?
Finest has been around for like 30 some years,
right.
You know, like that's how old we are getting.
Right.
Like newish is like 1994.
Yeah.
And buying Topps is a connection from the hobby now all the way back to the very birth of the hobby. Yes, there were cards before the 52 Topps, but Topps took baseball cards and made them into packs and sold them that way. Like, the whole distribution and what cards were for changed when Topps got into it. So really, the hobby as we know it now, that was the birth of it back then. So, all right, number 5, the final one on our list, the MLB debut patch, of course. Back in the podcast that Michael Rubin did, the interview, he said he wanted to innovate. This is their best innovation. We will leave all the other if they're taking a little too far out of it, but this is a great innovation. So simple. Like, looking back at it, doesn't it seem so simple? A little patch for a baseball player to wear in their first game, and then take that and put it on a card, have them sign it. Why did it take so long? Like, that just shows how bad this hobby was. This hobby was very complacent for a long time. In the 90s, there was a lot of innovation, there was competition, but then as some of those card manufacturers started to drop out, it just kind of cruised along, and everybody was happy just doing what they do. This is the best innovation to come along in actual card collecting, maybe ever. It's a cool idea. And now for a baseball player, they have their top rookie card. This is it. There's no question. It gets all kinds of mainstream publicity. You see cards selling for over $1 million and ended up in a sporting goods store. And the news outlets are going to pick that up. Like, this is just a huge success on so many levels for them at a business level and for collectors. I think this is number one on my list.
So I think it was a little bit of a perfect storm with this. A lot of it had to do with the lack of innovation. So anything different, we were, kind of shocked by in the current state of the hobby. But also, I think it has to do with Rubin himself. I mean, Fanatics they make the jerseys, they make the uniforms that these players wear. So it's easy for him to reach out to his pals over at the MLB And this is a positive. I'm not even saying this in a negative way. Like him being able to reach out to the MLB and say, hey, we have this idea for a card that I'm sure people over at Topps would have loved to do previous years, but they just didn't have that connection. They didn't have the connection to the jerseys being made in Fanatics. Like it's corporate synergy, which I know kind of makes EP like vomit in his mouth a little bit, but that was a big benefit. And I think that's what got this card made. My 100%, I think this is one of the best innovations that the hobby has had in a very, very long time. Cards stopped innovating in 1999. It felt like everyone just shut it down. It's like Y2K came and they're like, whoa, we can't think of anything new and exciting. We just got to keep printing what we print. And that's kind of what it felt like for a long time. There was nothing new. And this is new. And while it might not be for every collector because they're 101s, they're very difficult to get, they're still cool to look at, and they're still a cool idea. And from this point on, the year of our Lord 2025, on May 11th, I'm sorry, May 14th. I love this idea from this point backwards. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more next week about this point forward, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think you're right, Joe, about the perfect storm part of it. But I mean, it also, and Mike was right too. Like this is the best innovation in cards. But the cards companies release new stuff every year. There's a new a new parallel, a new insert set, a new whatever. They might try this and that. They might try a new kind of die cut. This all sorts of things. But this was actually an innovation, like a really, really good innovation. And Joe, to your point, I think because of the connection, Fanatics connection to the apparel. That also led them to think, well, what can we do with something that we were already doing? What can we do with that? And I think that helped to push that along. I can't think of anything in the hobby, anything at all. Like the thing about the buzzer on the PMGs, though even the super fractors back in the day, I don't remember them being as big of a deal. Like for this to become within the year of it launching, became the number one card that everybody wanted for the rookies that year. Like this became the number one card. It wasn't the Topps Chrome Refractor autograph. It was just all of a sudden this one card. They said we're going to do this, and that shot to the moon. And I think that is an amazing thing to say. And again, there will be things we'll talk about other stuff with it. But I mean, this itself, straight to the moon, really an amazing innovation.
All right, there you have it. Did we leave anything out? Let us know. Were there any other ways that Fanatics has made it better? Don't talk about the negative stuff. We're going to be back next week to maybe talk about how they made it worse. But hope you guys enjoyed this. We'll be back next week. Take care, guys.
That was rough. See ya, boys.
See ya.